Hey guys, Michael Furlong and Mark Appleby here from Buckmaster Hawkey. And Mark, we've been chatting a little bit about the trials and tribulations of real estate, but we wanted to talk a little bit about what real estate agents can do, business owners mainly, to plan for the rest of 2021 and then into 2022. Because let's face it, 2021 at the moment has been a horrible kickstart for this year. 7 months we're in, almost 7 months. It's been horrible.
That's right.
Firstly, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Michael. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. But it has been horrible, hasn't it?
It has been. It's almost like repeated 2020, but people are just a bit more rehearsed with things like lockdowns and things, and especially Victorians getting very, very well practiced at that. But yeah, it's an annoyance.
Now, you've got 5 tips that agents can really take on board as part of their planning. And it's been really good to be able to have a little bit of an interview, a little bit of a catch up with some of the different members for the Real Estate Resource Group. And everyone works in their specialty. So that's what I really love about this, is that none of the members cross over. We work in our we swim in our own lanes, which is really good. And now, Mark, you're in the recruitment section, staffing, recruitment, all things. Biggest issues at the moment that agents have got.
Yeah, everything. Staffing is one of the biggest challenges that agents have. So yeah, all things recruitment for property and real estate, Michael. So I'll start with tip number 1, which is plan for recruitment requirements. Now, a lot of organisations typically will look at doing a hire when they've had a resignation, or if they're in growth mode, then they'll decide at some point that they need to start hiring staff. So first things first is, if you have utilised recruitment agencies or don't have the time to do it yourself, then I'd urge you to align yourself with a good, reputable recruitment solutions provider like ourselves. And if you're going to do that, give the recruiter a lot of time up front. It's a bit like doing a listing appraisal, because the more information that you can give a recruiter about your company, the culture, the ideal people that fit and work out, the more accurate a recruiter is able to source appropriate candidates to put them forward to you, rather than just flick resumes. So at Buckmaster Hawkey, we don't send resumes. We talk to you about people and keeping with what you've briefed us on. I think developing a recruitment strategy to cater growth and attrition, as we've spoken earlier today, Michael, in another interview, the falling out of residential property managers in Victoria is dire. So I think planning for growth, and also if you're looking at your attrition rate and being on the front foot. So what you can do with that is to start to look at when you feel you might have a staff need, if it's through growth, and maybe look at onboarding a property cadet or an entry-level type person. Start doing the recruitment for that. You can always push the start date out a little bit if you like. But, you know, if you map out what the next 12 months is going to look like, if you're buying a rent roll, for example, and you're not sure if staff are going to come with that rent roll or not, so you need to look at your business and where you're positioned now, and look at the next 12 months ahead as to what will my staff needs be, including those that may have babies, drop out of the industry. I was going to say go overseas, but that doesn't happen now. And then mastering the interview and hiring process. So as silly as that sounds, there's some people actually don't know how to interview. And a typical cliche of that might be, I don't mean to be disrespectful to sales directors in real estate, Michael, they like to talk about themselves, their business, their success. It's a very ego-driven type of interview. And the candidate might sit there and nod and agree and say 3 words, and then the director thinks they're fabulous and hires them. Whereas
how many times does that happen, Mark? It happens a lot, doesn't it?
Happens frequently. So I'll sometimes say to a client, okay, why are they good for the role? You know, and be the devil's advocate here. Why do you think they're good for the role if I've got someone that runs in at a bull at a gate like that? Interviewing, first rule of thumb should be 20% talking, 80% listening, if you are the interviewer. So that's one golden rule that I'll share with you right now, is asking a question. Open answer questions are great. Get them to answer. If you need more information, get them to elaborate. You do get to sell your sizzle, of course, if you want to pitch your business and attract the best candidates and why they work for you. So you do have to have that through the course of the interview, but it shouldn't be 80% of you doing that.
Yeah, so I same with Mark, when I'm working with officers, I try and say to them, there's different questions for different levels, but put down and run a checklist. So if you're interviewing 5 people, ask the same questions.
Absolutely.
Of the 5 people. So run from a checklist, and that'll stop you from then going and waffling all the way through. The next one, staff. You're actually speaking my language, Mark. I'm feeling very, very happy with the first one. The second one's really ticked the box for me as well.
Yeah, Nathan. Look, a lot of this is done well by some organisations, Michael, and not so well by others. And it doesn't come down to a brand or a size. It really comes down to the culture and the king, and culture starts at the top, and how well organised and structured they like their business to be. So I've got a lot of clients that do this very well, Michael. Some do it on the anniversary of their start date. Others tie it to the financial year. But I think if you don't conduct performance reviews, or you're ad hoc, my tip to you is start doing them. If you've got good staff members and you want to hold on to them, you need to do this. It doesn't need to be Ben-Hur, but you need to do performance reviews. So the sorts of things you should start by looking is develop a template that's got a list of questions and things, or achievements, or the year that was, and then a section in that template about what's coming up in the next 12 months. And send that to a staff member and give them a bit of time to fill that out and prepare to complete. So you need to book an allocated time with each staff member in advance, issue them with this template that you'll then go through together when you sit down and do the performance review. Now, also in preparation, if you're the employer conducting the staff reviews, make sure you're up to date with marketplace salaries. We've got a quarterly salary summary that we do, and we're just about to do the end of June quarter at the moment, Michael. So clients can contact us, and that's a free PDF that we send to clients. That pretty much has every job under the roof of a real estate business, and it's in ranges. So you need to make sure that you're meeting marketplace trends when you're doing your reviews. Also part of that review process is really identifying opportunities for the individual for growth, upskilling, or areas for development. So that might be, where someone's falling over a post somewhere, or might be they're a great property manager, but they want to start becoming a leader to head towards becoming a department manager or a team leader. So be looking at what type of development programs, either external or internal, are available to that person. Also providing...
Mark, so just on that one, I like the idea of co-contribution on that one.
Yes.
So for example, let's just say the course is $2,000. I try to say to the agencies I work with, you offer to pay $1,000 and get the staff member to put $1,000 up. So it's co-contribution. So rather than it just be you providing it, and then with the view that the staff member leaves and you've not got the value, or the staff members don't take it seriously, they've actually got some skin in the game, and co-contribution for the training. But I like that one for professional development.
Yeah, no, I agree, Michael. And then they've got to hang on a minute. I'm shedding some of my skin here, so they own it then. Now, feedback is great, good, bad, and indifferent, and that should be delivered with examples. Good, the good, the bad, and the indifferent areas. If they've got accolades or won new landlords or areas for improvement, that all needs to be a two-way conversation. So that's given. All feedback's good feedback. Then I think sitting and agreeing on targets, both what the company expectations are and personal goals. So my mentor, Pam Newton, who I bought Buckmaster Hawkey from, Michael, used to sit down and say, give us your personal goals as well at the review. So we'd look at, okay, I want a new car, I want a deposit for a house, or I want to do something or other. And then you've got that sitting on your screen or your workstation there that you're looking at for the next 12 months. So it's a nice little thing to do, because then at your next year's review, you can see whether you've actually achieved those goals.
Fantastic. That's a great one, Mark. I like to use, Mark, the April and October dates, 6 months apart. Yes. And the reason for that is because it doesn't conflict with the start of the year you've got through the year. It also doesn't conflict with Christmas. The last thing you want to do is have a review in November, December, and then end up with a vacancy. So April and October, schedule those out in advance. It always works well. Do you have a template, Mark, that you work with your clients, or is it something that you...
I think most of my clients do it on the anniversary of the employee's start date. That would be the most popular.
So do you have a template? Do you have a template that you use?
Yes, yes, I do. Sorry.
So someone working with you, you'd be able to give them a copy.
Yep, we give them on the lead up to their anniversary and the review. They have. There's a slightly different one depending on the role they assume, but yes, to answer your question, we do.
How many officers have got this next one nailed? Very few, I would think.
Yeah, very few. So staff retention strategies. This is a biggie. So as we know, finding great staff is a challenge enough as it is. And we're in candidate short markets and all sorts of things. And people say, In a professional services industry, Michael, your business is as good as your people. So no truer word can be spoken. So I think finding talent, great talent, is hard enough as it is. So you need to learn how to hold on to it, particularly those that you don't want to lose.
Yeah.
So what COVID's taught us is flexible working arrangements. Now, this sometimes, and what various clients have shared with me since we've had all these lockdowns, is some individuals work better from home than others. Some struggle with it. Some get cabin fever. There's no real rule of thumb as to, my entire property management team work exceptionally well. It's usually individuals. So flexible working arrangements tends to, I think, be better suited to certain types of people.
Sure.
But for some people that are very organised, they might be mums and they've got school drop-offs and those sorts of things, they can actually commit to a full-time role if they've got flexible working arrangements, logging in from home, can duck out and do the drop-offs and stuff. Absolutely, you should be offering that. Usually you'll find, particularly residential property managers that are mums, they are structured, organised creatures. And, when they're at work, regardless of whether it's at home, in front of the laptop, or whether in the office, or regardless. And then, of course, there's some roles where you can't provide, front of house, for example. I mean, you can divert a phone to a mobile, but if you want meet and greet, a receptionist role is something you can't really have working from home.
Yeah.
Implementing a retention bonus on the anniversary of a certain tenure. I've had a couple of clients do this, Michael, and they only offer it to new employees during the probationary period when they've identified, gee, this is a really good staff member, I don't want to lose this. You wouldn't offer this up front before the person's actually earned their stripes. And it's very simple, as per the bullet point says here. Set a time frame in which you feel, I want a minimum tenure, and then have a dollar bonus tied to it. Okay. I think somewhere around 10K for 3 years, I've seen in a couple of instances, Michael, and the rule is simple. On your 3rd anniversary, Michael, here's a check for 10K. Jeez. If you leave 2 days before, it's not prorated. The only condition is you are employed here on your 3rd anniversary. Simple as that.
Jeez. I've not heard of that one before. I like that one.
Yeah, well, like I say, during the probationary period, the first 6 months, you'd identify, is this a candidate or employee I don't want to lose? And if the answer is I can't lose this, I then offer this. And obviously, staff talk, so it might get out. You might not have offered it to some employee, but I guess at the end of the day, it's irrelevant, because the objective here is to retain the staff members that you don't want to lose.
Sure.
Yeah. So sometimes it's better to have an outstanding employee for 2 years, Michael, than having an also ran for 5. You can have...
and the cost of one management, Mark, on average would be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, depending on the areas. So 3 might be low, 5 might be high. But if we worked on a $4,000 average, that's really 2 managements. Maybe 2.5 managements. If you lost a staff member, there's industry statistics that say that generally you're going to lose somewhere between 10 and 20 properties. So if it's actually worthwhile to be able to invest. And this is where you have to be a bit smart about your retention, isn't it?
Well, you do. And also the turnover, the cost of the new hire, the downtime, the uptime, the landlords being disgruntled if you're turning staff over, those sorts of things. Yep. So really 10K when you look at it for 3 years. And, some employees from that 2 year mark might go, oh, gee, hang on a minute, I'm only 9 or 10 months off a 10K bonus, might have them stick around for another 9 or 10 months.
Yeah.
Now, some other things you can do to become an employer of choice is, and we do this in my business, Michael, give birthdays off. I've seen a lot of companies do this. Once you pass your probationary period, you have your birthday off as a paid day's leave, and we do health and wellbeing days. Now, we have a qualifying period for that ourselves, which is you've got to be with us for 12 months, and you get to choose a day during the year to choose an activity. It's all about you indulging in yourself, and then in our case, we'll buy a voucher or we'll make a financial contribution towards whatever that activity is, and that's another paid day's leave.
Fantastic. That's great. I like that one.
So,
and the next one's Mark?
Okay. Tip number 4, invest in technology and review systems. So as we all know, technology is always evolving. So cloud-based products and things like that are all the go, and apps, things like that. So I think if you're not up to play with this, you need to get up to play, because it's not only, making the efficiencies of your role a lot easier, but also one of the things that some staff look for when they choose an employer. If you've got cutting edge technology or the latest or the greatest. and reviewing how your systems and processes are done. You might have a review team or a person like an office manager. Just because it worked well 15 years ago with whatever technology you had then doesn't mean that it would, necessarily work now. So you need, particularly if you're not a franchisee, if you're an independent and you don't have franchisors offering you training and associated things that support their franchisees, and you're pretty much sitting there in the dark. The other alternative, Michael, is I've got here is engage someone like yourself who is relevant, because you're out there and amongst all sorts of different businesses, to come in and do a consult and keep yourself, I guess, relevant and fresh that way.
Thanks, mate. I hadn't read the slides. I only read the first two, and I flicked through. I hadn't seen me in there, so thank you. That's really good. One of the simple things that I look at, because I work in so many different offices, I bring my own laptop and I bring another screen, but I just look at some of the inefficient ways that file structures are done. Property management software is not up to date, and I sit there and I pull my hair out, thinking to myself, I'm struggling being in here for a day. How do staff find anything? How to find, and they're on single screens, or people are just working on 13-inch laptops. It's just ridiculous. Every office should have two big, large monitors. We work on databases all the time, or spreadsheets, or whether we're to application forms. Why are we working on bloody little laptops? I don't understand it.
I know, and it's exactly right. Plus, you've got to stay relevant. You've got to stay up to date. So, I think if you're an independent, don't have your blinkers on. I'd be getting some expert advice and reviewing those things regularly. It also helps with staff retention. Absolutely.
Thanks, man. That's a nice little plug. I appreciate that. And the
last one is, this is one of my personal pets, Michael, and this is onboarding new blood to the real estate. Tip number 5, biggest message that I can send to all my clients, or anyone in the real estate industry for that matter who is an employer, is you need to onboard new blood to address the falling out of residential property managers we've had since COVID and the changes to the RTA. I cannot emphasize this enough. You do need to make sure that when you're doing that you've got a training program or external training partners and associates that can help you on board and make the transition of someone with transferable skills, say from hospitality or travel industry or something like that, a successful one. And the good news is, Michael, since early this year, a lot of my clients, the penny's starting to drop, that they have to do something different. They have to do something new. You can't just expect that the candidate short market's just going to one day fix itself. So whether it's for sales or property management, I think always being on the lookout for good potential employees and getting them on board as a way to address what's been an age-old problem in property management. That's a candidate short market. So, and if you are a small independent and you are a sales-orientated director or directors and you don't have the infrastructure, you can engage partners like ourselves and Michael Furlong's training business to assist with these sorts of programs. So you've got the support there from external agencies to help you with this. So don't be too deterred. I know a lot of sales directors say to me, Michael, I'm not going to put my rent roll, which is my superannuation funds, in the hands of someone who doesn't know what they're doing, because my landlords will come and take the file out and walk across the road to my competitor. So if I had $1 for every time I'd heard that, you've got to take this head on. You've got to take a different approach to it and go, we need a sustainable solution for the future, or I'm going to have a vacant portfolio for weeks to sometimes months on end with no potential. It comes down to luck, Michael. Is the right candidate with the right skill set and the right fit in the job market at the time that I have a vacancy? And these days, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack when it comes to residential property managers.
Absolutely. Mark, 5 brilliant points. And as much as we're in completely different fields, each of those 5 things I 100% subscribe to, because it's what I talk about when I go on site with offices. Because I think the beauty of the Real Estate Resource Group and again, our relationship over 15 plus years is the fact that we actually see the same, we're working with the same client, but we see the same problems, and we're both trying to address it at different ways. But I fully subscribe to all of those points. And any office that isn't doing these things, it's to their own detriment, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, they're going to get left behind. But you're right, Michael. Like, I preach a lot of this stuff. You're actually in there in the client's workplaces, seeing all these sort of things, and then making changes for the better with your consulting. So yeah, I think hopefully some of our clients do these things well now. There might be a few tips you've picked up from today's discussion, Michael, that they can improve. So, yeah, but no, thank you very much for your time.
It's been great. Thank you, Mark. How do people get in touch with you? I can see up there, Buckmaster Hawkeye. And Mark, I can look here. I can do mathematics to about 40, which I'd like to say was my age, but it's not. You were saying earlier before that this is your 40th year anniversary, Buckmaster Hawkeye, 40 years established. Yeah,
that's right. 40 years ago, Pam Newton founded the business, first real estate recruitment specialist in Melbourne. I joined 20 years ago in 2001. And then bought the company off the Newtons when they retired in 2007. So yeah, buckmasterhawkeye.com.au or 96295000 is our office number. So
beautiful.
Yeah, we're 40 years strong.
Fantastic, mate. Thank you very much. And we can reach out, if you're listening to this, reach out to Mark if you've got staffing issues. I guess, Mark, the one final thing I'll probably say is don't reach out if you've got staffing issues today. Try and prepare.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, reach out, but try and prepare and do all those things in advance to alleviate staffing issues. Yeah.
That was tip number one. That was planning for recruitment.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Michael.